Ms. Legalista, aka Attorney Sheila, here. We are going to be talking about the Rex Heuermann case. This is the Long Island serial killer, as you may recall hearing about him earlier this year. We're actually going to take a look at this document from beginning to end. It is probably going to be really long, and I'm going to tell you now. I have me a drink in case I get a little thirsty here and have to stop and wet my throat just a little bit. But let me tell you what we're going to be taking a look at. And of course, I'm having some issues here. Where did this go? All right. Of course, he has been charged. We're a little bit further along. So I'm going back in time a little bit. And this document that we're going to be looking at has all of the details in it because prosecutors wanted to make sure that his bail was denied. This is a 32-page document. Now, I got this from the New York Times. They've redacted most of the information so that I don't have to worry about that information that needs to be redacted. So let me go ahead and open this up so we can jump right into this. All right, there we have the document. This is the bail application. Okay, so they're saying, hey, no, we do not think he should be out on the street. And if you hear some of this, you're going to understand exactly why. All right, let's start from the beginning. Stick with me, stick with me. County Court of Suffolk County, State of New York. The people of the state of New York against Rex A. Heuermann, defendant. All right, stands before this court charged by the grand jury with murder in the first degree. This for the death of Melissa Barthelemy, murder in the first degree for the death of Megan Waterman, murder in the first degree for the death of Amber Costello, murder in the second degree for the death of Melissa Barthelemy, murder in the second degree for the death of Megan Waterman, murder in the second degree for the death of Amber Costello. Look at the dates here. This is 2010 that we're talking about. 2010. It is now 13 years later. This one even goes back to 2009. As described below, based on the serious, heinous nature of these serial murders, the planning and forethought that went into these crimes, the strength of the people's case, the length of incarceration the defendant faces upon conviction, the extended period of time that this defendant was able to avoid apprehension, his recent searches for sadistic materials, and you'll see some language there that I'm going to not say so that YouTube doesn't flag the video. Images of the victims and their relatives, counter surveillance conducted online as to the criminal investigation, his use of fictitious names, burner email and cell phone accounts, and his access to and history of possessing firearms, the only means to ensure defendant Rex A. Heuermann's return to court is to remand him without bail. Discovery of the victims. On December 11, 2010, police officer John Malia was conducting a training exercise with his canine partner Blue along Ocean Parkway in Gilgo Beach, Suffolk County, New York. During the course of the training exercise, Blue located a set of human remains. The remains were later identified to be those of Melissa Barthelemy. 2 days later, on December 13, 2010, the SCPD continued to search in proximity to where the remains of Melissa Barthelemy were recovered. On that date, members of the SCPD found 3 additional sets of human remains within 1/4 mile of the first discovery. See image below. These 3 additional sets of remains were identified as those of Maureen Brandon Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The cause of death of all 4 women was determined to be homicidal violence. And let me go back for a second because I jumped right into this and I actually meant to talk about this piece where they were laying out the different pieces as to why he should not receive bail. And all of these things just creates a mountain that then the prosecutors are able to say, look at this. First of all, look at how long he was doing this and wasn't apprehended. And look at what he was doing, what he's accused of. And we really think that we're going to be able to put him away. All right, let me go back to this picture. So, this first picture here, they've done a close up of this one little area here. And then you can see where they have flagged the different locations. The investigation into these deaths were linked as, in addition to other factors, the victims each appear to have been placed in close proximity to one another, 22 to 33 feet from the edge of the parkway. All were petite females, approximately 22 to 27 years old, believed to be working as sex workers. All had missing clothing and personal possessions. All had been killed by homicide. All had contact shortly before their disappearances with a person using a burner cell phone, i.e., cell phones without an associated verified identity. And the cell phones of two of the four victims, Brainerd Barnes and Bartholomew, were used by the killer after their deaths. In addition, each of the four victims were found similarly positioned, bound in a similar fashion by either belts or tape, with three of the victims found wrapped in a burlap type material. So let's go back up and take a look at this footnote here. Although the defendant is not yet charged with any of the crimes as to the disappearance of the murder of Ms. Brandon Barnes, as set below, it says he is the prime suspect. And it looks like it's the same sort of modus operandi. All right, let's go to this next piece here. Recent investigation. In January 2022, the Suffolk County DA's office assigned an experienced team of investigators, analysts, and prosecutors to work jointly with law enforcement partners from the Suffolk County Police Department, New York State Police, Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, and FBI. A comprehensive review of every item of evidence and information in this investigation was undertaken by the team. On March 14, 2022, approximately 2 months into the renewed joint investigation, this comprehensive review led to the discovery of a first generation Chevrolet Avalanche that was registered to defendant Rex A. Heuermann at the time of these murders. As described below, this was significant because a witness to the disappearance of Amber Costello identified a first generation Chevrolet Avalanche as the vehicle believed to have been driven by the killer. The discovery led to a comprehensive investigation of defendant Heuermann, which consisted of over 300 subpoenas, search warrants, and other legal processes to obtain evidence. As discussed more fully below, among the items uncovered were cell phone billing records for defendant Heuermann, corresponding to cell site locations for one, the burner cell phones used to arrange meetings with three of the four victims, two, the taunting calls made to a relative of Ms. Bartholomew, three, a call made by a detective to Ms. Bartholomew's cell phone while looking into her disappearance, and four, calls checking voicemail on Ms. Brandon Barnes' cell phone after her disappearance. In addition, Heuermann lived in the Massapequa park where the victims were believed to have disappeared from, and he worked in Midtown Manhattan, in the vicinity where the taunting calls were made to the sister of Ms. Bartholomew. Can you believe taunting? Okay, so you do this deed, and not only is that not enough, you then have to go taunt the family members. As set forth more fully below, defendant Rex A. Heuermann is believed to be the person who used the burner cell phones to communicate with each of the four victims prior to their disappearance, and who used Ms. Brainerd Barnes' cell phone and Ms. Bartholomew's cell phone after their deaths. Both defendant Heuermann and these burner cell phones had significant connections to both Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa Park, New York. All right, let's get into the disappearance of each one of these victims. Maureen Brandon Barnes was last seen July 9th, 2007 in New York City. At that time, she was believed to be working as a sex worker. On July 6, 2007, her cell phone was contacted by a burner cell phone. Between July 6, 2007 and July 9, 2007, there were 16 interactions between this burner phone and Brennan Barnes' cell phone. On July 9, 2007, the last cell site location for the Brennan Barnes cell phone was at approximately 11:56 p.m. in Midtown Manhattan near the 59th Street Bridge. Thereafter, the Brandon Barnes cell phone had no further activity until July 12, 2007. On July 12, 2007, 3 days after her disappearance, two outbound calls were made from Brandon Barnes' cell phone, checking her voicemail from a cell site location near the Long Island Expressway in Islandia. All right, Melissa Barthelemy. Melissa Barthelemy was last seen on July 10, 2009 in New York City. At that time, she was believed to be working also. On July 3rd, 2009, Ms. Barthelemy was contacted by a burner cell phone. Thereafter, her cell phone was contacted by this burner cell phone on July 6th, July 9th, and July 10th, 2009, which was the last day she was seen alive. On July 10th, 2009, cell site records indicate the burner cell phone traveled from Massapequa Park to Midtown Manhattan. Later that evening, the Barthelemy cell phone traveled from Midtown Manhattan to Massapequa, with the last cell site location being Massapequa on July 9th, 2009 at approximately 1:43 a.m. On July 11, 2009, Ms. Barthelomew's cell phone was used to make an outbound call, checking her voicemail from a cell site location in Freeport. On July 11th and July 12th, 2009, the Bartholomew phone made two more outbound calls, checking her voicemail from a cell site locations in Babylon. On July 17th, 23rd, August 5th, August 19th, and August 26th, the Bartholomew phone made taunting phone calls to Ms. Barthelomew's family members, some of which resulted in a conversation between the caller, who was a male, and a relative of Melissa Bartholomew, in which the male caller admitted killing and sexually assaulting Ms. Bartholomew. As described below, the cell site locations of the Bartholomew phone during these taunting calls were all in Midtown Manhattan. All right, Megan Waterman. Last seen alive at the Holiday Inn in Hauppauge, New York on June 6, 2010 at 1:30 a.m. At that time, she was believed to be working also. On June 5th, 2010, Ms. Waterman's cell phone was contacted by another burner cell phone, which had just been activated that day. Thereafter, the Waterman phone communicated with this burner cell phone on July 6, 2010 at approximately 1:31 a.m., which is around the time Megan Waterman was captured on video surveillance exiting the Holiday Inn in Hauppauge for the last time. Following that communication, the burner cell phone had no further phone activity. However, cell site records show that the Waterman phone traveled to Massapequa Park, with the last cell site location being in Massapequa Park at approximately 3:11 a.m. in the vicinity of the residence of defendant Hewerman. Now, this is the first time we get closer. In the past, we've said, yes, it's in Massapequa Park, but this is the first time we actually see that it's saying it's in the vicinity of his home. Amber Costello, last seen alive September 2nd, 2010, leaving her residence at 1112 America Avenue in West Babylon during the late evening hours. At that time, she was believed to be working. On September 1st, 2020, on September 1st, 2010, the day prior to the disappearance of Amber Costello, Ms. Costello's cell phone was contacted by a burner cell phone. On September 1st, 2010, this burner cell phone had communications with the Costello phone at approximately 11:33 p.m. and 11:34 p.m. During those communications, the burner cell phone connected to cell site towers in West Amityville and Massapequa Park. Thereafter, the burner cell phone traveled to West Babylon in proximity to the residence of Amber Costello and had contact with the Costello phone at approximately 12:05 a.m. on September 2nd, 2010. So it sounds like maybe now they're meeting. According to witnesses, around the time of these communications between the burner cell phone and the Costello phone on September 1st, 2010, a prostitution client showed up at Ms. Costello's residence located in West Babylon, New York. After the client entered the home, A ruse was executed on the client whereby a person pretended to be the outraged boyfriend of Amber Costello, and the client left from the residence, while Amber Costello retained the money the client had brought to pay for her services. Based upon interviews, that client was described as a large white male, approximately 6'4" to 6'6" in height, in his mid 40s, with dark bushy hair and big oval style 1970s type eyeglasses. A witness described him to police as appearing like an ogre. Furthermore, a witness noticed a first generation Chevrolet Avalanche parked in the driveway of the residence. According to the witness, following the ruse, this client said he was just her friend, tell her I'll give her a call, and walked out the front door. Thereafter, at approximately 1:18 a.m. on September 2nd, after the ruse had been perpetrated, the burner cell phone sent a text message to the Costello phone, which stated, "That was not nice. So do I credit for next time?" Phone records show that the burner phone was located in Massapequa Park within 2 minutes of this text message being sent. According to a witness later the next day, on September 2nd, 2010, Ms. Costello was again contacted by the same client that was in the house the night before with the avalanche. Further, Amber told us that he wanted to see her again, but he didn't want to come back to the house because of her boyfriend. Thereafter, on September 2nd, 2010, at approximately 9:32 p.m., the same burner cell phone from the previous evening again communicated with the Costello phone. During this communication, the burner cell phone used a cell site location in Midtown Manhattan. Following this communication, and based upon the cell site records, the burner cell phone traveled to Massapequa Park and had contacts with the Costello phone at approximately 10:39 p.m. and 11:05 p.m. Cell site records for the burner phone indicate that approximately 11:17 p.m. the phone traveled to West Babylon in proximity to the residence of Amber Costello. Subsequently, Amber Costello left her own cell phone behind, walked out the front door of the residence, and was seen alive for the last time. Shortly after Ms. Costello left the house, a witness observed a dark colored truck pass the house, specifically coming from the direction Amber had walked towards. All right, so then we have something here about defendant Huerman's wife. Records established that defendant Huerman's wife was out of New York for the disappearances of Bartholomew, Waterman, and Costello. So it talks here about the significant travel records. All right, shows that July 8, 2009, she departed the US for Iceland. August 18th, 2009, she returned to the United States. Consequently, defendant Huerman's wife was out of the country during the time of Melissa Bartholomew's disappearance. Based upon cellular telephone billing records on June 4th, 2010, the cellular telephones subscribed to by defendant Huerman's wife traveled from New York to Maryland. On June 8, 2010, the cellular telephone subscribed to by defendant Huerman's wife returned to New York from Maryland. Consequently, based on cellular telephone records, the cellular telephone subscribed to by defendant Huerman's wife was out of New York State during the time of Megan Waterman's disappearance. All right, now on to Amber. Based upon cellular telephone billing records on August 28, 2010, the cellular telephone subscribed to by defendant Huerman's wife traveled from New York to New Jersey. On September 5th, 2010, the cellular telephone subscribed to by his wife returned to New York from New Jersey. Consequently, the cellular telephone subscribed to by defendant Huerman's wife was out of New York State during the time of Amber Costello's disappearance. So here's the thing. So this is a part of the whole modus operandi. I'm going to wait until my wife is out of town because I don't have to worry about if I'm bringing these women back to the house to conduct whatever it is I'm conducting. I don't have to worry about her being here. I have more freedom to come and go. Nobody's questioning where I'm going to be. And the fact that these line up each time, again, the prosecution is able to say, hey, here's what he was doing. Look, he did it for this one. He did it for this one. He did it for this one. All right, so next up is his cellular billing records. During the times of the disappearances, and murders of the victims, defendant Huerman owned an architectural business located in Midtown Manhattan, and this business was the named subscriber of Huerman's cell phone, which was active during the times of the victims' disappearances and subscribed to Huerman's home address in Massapequa Park. Although cell site records from that time period no longer exist, investigators obtained cellular billing records which showed general location information for Huerman's cell phone. A review of these records, as well as Huerman's American Express records, showed numerous instances where Huerman was located in the same general locations as the burner cell phones used to contact victims Bartholomew, Waterman, and Costello, as well as the use of Brandon Barnes and Bartholomew's cell phones when they were used to check voicemail and make taunting phone calls after the women disappeared. Significantly, investigators could find no instance where Huerman was in a separate location from these other cell phones when such a communication event occurred. For example, on July 10th, 2009, the last day Melissa Bartholomew was seen alive, both the burner phone and defendant Huerman's phone were in the area of Massapequa and traveled together toward New York City. Thereafter, both Ms. Bartholomew's phone and Huerman's phone traveled eastbound toward Massapequa. On July 14, 2009, at approximately 7:15 p.m., cell site records indicate the burner phone used to contact Ms. Bartholomew's prior to her disappearance had activity in Manhattan. On the same date, between approximately 6:58 p.m. and 7:22 p.m., billing records from Huerman's cell phone also showed call locations in New York City. They are putting these things together. Following Ms. Bartholomew's disappearance on July 17, 2009, at approximately 12:40 p.m., a male caller used the Bartholomew phone to contact Ms. Bartholomew's family. The Bartholomew phone was located in New York City at this time, specifically attached to a cellular tower located at 4 Penn Plaza, which is approximately 2,372 feet or 0.45 miles from Huerman's then office space, which at the time was located, and you'll see where it's located here. And so they've got it mapped out to show you where the green is where the victim's phone here, and then his office is right here. And they're saying that there's a distance here of less than half a mile. So, for those of you who walk fast, you can do that in under 10 minutes. On July 22nd, 2009, at 6:51 p.m., cell site records indicate the burner cell phone had activity in New York City, specifically attached to a cellular tower located at 19 West 34th Street, which is approximately 872 feet or 0.16 miles from defendant Huerman's then office space, which at the time was located at 19 West 36th Street. On the same date, at approximately 5:12 p.m., billing records from Huerman's cell phone listed a call located in New York City. Again, you can see sort of the range here where the call was made from, and then here's his office. On July 23rd, 2009, at approximately 1:39 p.m., cell site records indicate that the burner cell phone had activity in New York City, specifically attached to a cell tower located at 19 West 34th Street, which is approximately, again, 0.16 miles from his office. On that same date, billing records from Huerman's cell phone listed a call located in New York, New York. And again, you can see how close that is. On July 23rd, 2009, at approximately 6:42 p.m., a male caller used the Bartholomew phone to contact her family. The Bartholomew phone was located in New York City at this time, specifically attached to a cell tower located at 275 West 39th Street, which is approximately 872 feet or that 0.16 miles from his office. And on July 23rd, 2009, between approximately 8:29 p.m. and 9:30 p.m., the burner cell phone had activity in New York City. Later on the same date, at approximately 11:05 p.m., billing records from Huerman's cell phone listed a call located in Jamaica, Queens. On August 5th, 2009, between approximately 6:50 p.m. and 7:11 p.m., a male caller used the Bartholomew phone to contact Ms. Bartholomew's family. During said time period, the Bartholomew phone utilized the following cell phone towers in New York City. And you can see 2230 to 3280 feet from his office. On the same date, during a similar time frame, between 6:46 p.m. and 7:05 p.m., Huerman's cell phone listed billing locations in New York City. And you can see the locations there. So it says on August 10th, 2009, based upon subpoenaed travel documents, Huerman departed from Iceland and all phone activity for the Bartholomew phone stopped. On August 18, 2009, Huerman returned from Iceland and phone activity for the Bartholomew phone resumed the next day. On August 19, 2009, approximately 7:23 p.m., a male caller used the Bartholomew phone to contact Ms. Bartholomew's family. Cell site records indicate that the Bartholomew phone was located in New York City at this time, specifically attached to a cellular tower located at 249 West 36th Street, which is approximately 200, or look, a little over half a mile from his office. And you can see the picture there. It says on the same date before and after the call to Bartholomew's family, billing records from Huerman's cell phone list calls located in New York City. And there you can see the distance there. Again, not that far. On August 26, 2009, between 11:29 p.m. and 11:34, a male caller used the Bartholomew phone to contact Ms. Bartholomew's family. According to cell site records, the Bartholomew phone was located in New York City at this time, specifically attached to the cell tower located at 4 Penn Plaza here, which is approximately less than half a mile from Huer's office. Again, they're just showing how these calls occurred from in a vicinity that was close to his office. All right, I'm gonna now let's talk about this additional burner phones and online activity. And I think this is where we're going to see a lot of the redacted information here. You can see it already. As described herein, over the course of the comprehensive investigation of defendant Huerman, investigators located a number of online accounts and burner cell phones linked to defendant Huerman, but which were held by him in fictitious names and used for illicit activities. American Express records obtained via subpoena revealed recurring Google Pay payments made by defendant Huerman to Tinder, an online dating and geosocial networking application used to find dates or hookups within a user's immediate vicinity. Records were then obtained from Tinder, which revealed that the Tinder profile was set up in the name of Andy. Huerman's middle name is Andrew, which links to a burner cell phone described in the fictitious name of Andrew Roberts using an email account. And they have this is all redacted. The account was established with AOL in 2011 in the fictitious name of John Springfield with an Astoria, Queens, New York zip code using another burner cell phone, which records show has no named subscriber. Records obtained from Verizon showed that defendant Huerman's cell phone was used on December 11, 2022, for a period of over 3 hours to access the fictitious AOL account. Similarly, records obtained from T-Mobile show that burner cell phone was used on multiple dates, including November 8, 2022, to access this account. A review of call records for these two additional burner cell phones revealed that both cell phones were used extensively between 2021 and 2023 for prostitution-related contacts, either with, and you see there. In addition, cell site warrants for these burner cell phones revealed that just like the burner cell phones defendant Huerman used to contact the victims prior to their disappearances, these additional burner cell phones had frequent cell site activity in Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa Park. Specifically, the records revealed that both these burner cell phones consistently had activity on the cellular towers that provided coverage to defendant Huerman's residence in Massapequa Park and his business in New York City. Legal process served on Google seeking records or accounts associated with the device identifiers of these additional burner cell phones revealed a connection to yet another burner or junk email account, namely, hereinafter, whatever email account. Google records further indicate that the email account was subscribed in the fictitious name Thomas Hawk. A search warrant revealed that the email account associated with this burner cell phone was used to conduct thousands of searches related to, and you can see the list there, and that is redacted, thankfully. It was also used to conduct in excess of 200 searches related to active and known serial killers. The specific disappearances and murders of Maureen Brandon Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, and the investigation into their murders. And so that's been redacted. The email account was also used to search for a number of podcasts and or documentaries regarding this investigation. Specifically, defendant Huerman also searched for and viewed articles concerning the very task force that was investigating him. So he was keeping up with what was going on with him. Look here, we have Long Island Press. We have a Google search here from oxygen.com. So these were some of the things that he was looking at, and they have the times there. It says a search warrant conducted on the fictitious AOL account further revealed selfie photographs that appeared to have been taken by defendant Rex Huerman of himself and sent to other persons to solicit and arrange for certain activities, as you see there, further linking Huerman to the fictitious email account and the burner cell phone used to establish the account. Well, there you go. Defendant Rex Huerman was further linked to the burner cell phone because on May 19, 2023, defendant Huerman was observed by law enforcement via video and field surveillance at a cell phone store in Midtown Manhattan and purchased additional minutes, which were added to his burner cell phone. The smarter thing to do would have been, after a while, toss those burner cell phones and get new ones. Like, tell yourself you're only going to keep it for 3 months and then toss it, okay? I'm not telling you how to be a criminal, but you know. So here are the pictures of him making those purchases there. Analysis of the AOL account also led to this discovery of another email account. This was a Google account used on February 14, 2021, Valentine's Day, to send an image of from upstate New York between two of Huerman's secret email accounts. Further investigation revealed that the Google account was created on Valentine's Day using burner cell phone as the user's phone number and SMS recovery number, and subscribed in the fictitious name Andy Roberts, the same fake name linked to the target Tinder profile and burner cell phone, as well as the same alias utilized by defendant Huerman in communications with numerous potential partners responding to his advertisements for, and the fictitious birthday of August 6, 1972, which corresponds to the digital ending of the burner account. In addition, Google provided IP address information for the user's acceptance of the terms of service, which revealed that the terms of service were accepted on February 14, 2021 from IP address as redacted. Significantly, records were obtained from Altus, doing business as Optimum, which is an internet services provider, indicating that the IP address at defendant Huerman's home was also, and that's redacted. Moreover, based upon SCPD records for the official website gilgonews.com, a website maintained by the SCPD to disperse news pertaining to this investigation, defendant Huerman's home IP address was used on May 23, 2020 and July 3, 2020 to access the official news concerning this investigation. Records obtained by JetBlue also show that the same IP address was also utilized to book flights for defendant Huerman and his wife in 2018. When analyzing the usage of all devices and accounts used by defendant Huerman, there appears to be a clear pattern wherein Huerman used burner phones and burner junk email addresses to, one, contact workers and partners to conduct extensive searches related to, and you can see the listing there, and seek online information about the authorities investigating his crimes. These burner cell phones and email accounts with fictitious identities were used in an effort to conceal Huerman's true identity, conceal his criminal activity, unlawfully proposition women, and attempt to monitor the investigation of his crimes. So then we have DNA analysis of hairs recovered from the examination of the victim's body. So this is the first time I had heard of that. Some of this other stuff I had heard. A lot of this is redacted. We do have some information here that says in or about July 22nd, forensic lab number 1 was able to determine that each of the aforementioned female hairs recovered on the 3 victims each belonged to a female individual in mitochondrial haplogroup, and you have it there. Um, and let's see, they recovered 11 bottles from a trash receptacle that had been left out for collection in front of the residence of defendant Rex A. Huerman. The Suffolk County Crime Laboratory took swabs of said bottles, which was subsequently sent to forensic lab number 1 for DNA profiling. Based on these new submissions, lab 1 was able to conclude that one of the DNA profiles generated from the aforementioned bottles taken from defendant Huerman's residence indicated a female individual belonging to mitochondrial haplogroup K1C1, which is the same group as the female hairs recovered from the 3 victims. So now they have DNA evidence connecting him to the women. And then there's some more here. This one is on or about June 12th, 2023. Forensic Lab number 2 issued a report concluding that the DNA sample from the female recovered from the bottles outside the residence of defendant Huerman, i.e., Huerman's wife, and the female hair on Costello indicated that the mitochondrial DNA profiles are the same at all compared positions common to and between samples, and that would exclude 99.98% of the rest of the North American population from the female hair on Costello. Yes, we're getting into the confidence levels there. And there's some more here. And this is so specific. I think the takeaway here is just that they were able to find these hairs and do some matching. It says it is significant that RH's wife cannot be excluded from either the female hairs recovered on the remains of Megan Waterman and Amber Costello. As previously noted, defendant Huerman's wife was out of state at the time of Ms. Waterman's and Ms. Costello's disappearance and murders. Male hair linked to defendant Huerman during the initial examination of Ms. Waterman's skeletal remains and the burlap materials, the Suffolk County Crime Lab was also able to recover a male hair from the bottom of the burlap used to wrap Ms. Waterman by her killer. An initial examination of said hair revealed Caucasian European characteristics. However, the hair was unsuitable for further DNA analysis at that time by the Suffolk County Crime Laboratory. The hair was subsequently submitted for further DNA analysis, and on or about July 31st, 2020, Forensic Lab number 1 was able to generate a DNA profile for the hair recovered on the bottom of the Waterman burlap. Specifically, Lab 1 determined that this hair belonged to a male in mitochondrial haplogroup V7A. Following the discovery of the Chevrolet Avalanche, which was registered to defendant Huerman, and the investigation of cellular billing records and other items on or about January 26, 2023, a surveillance team observed and recovered a pizza box thrown by defendant Rex A. Huerman into a garbage can located in front of 385 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And there's the picture there. And there's the pizza there. The pizza box was sent to the Suffolk County Crime Lab for analysis, where a swab was taken from the leftover pizza crust. On or about March 23, 2023, the Suffolk County Crime Lab sent the swab from the pizza crust abandoned by defendant Huerman to Forensic Lab number 2. On April 28, 2023, a detective hand-delivered from Forensic Lab number 1 a portion of male hair on Waterman to Forensic Lab number 2 for testing. On or about June 12, 2023, Forensic Lab number 2 was able to determine as to the male hair on Waterman and the swab from the pizza crust that the mitochondrial DNA profiles are the same. Specifically, that it would exclude 99.96 of the rest of the North American population. Based on the foregoing, while 99.96 of the North American population can be excluded from the male hair on Waterman, it is significant that defendant Huerman cannot be excluded from the male hair recovered at the bottom of the burlap utilized to restrain and transport Megan Waterman's naked and deceased body. Arrest and search of Huerman, his residence, and other locations. On or about the evening of July 13th, 2023, defendant Rex A. Huerman was arrested by Suffolk County police officers. Searches of his residence as well as other locations are currently ongoing. At the time of his arrest, defendant Huerman had on his person the burner cell phone, which was linked to the email account used to conduct the online searches described above. All right, penalties. If convicted on the current charges, defendant Huerman faces multiple sentences of life without parole. Remand without bail is appropriate based on the serious, heinous crime nature of these offenses, the strength of the people's case, the life incarceration the defendant faces upon conviction, the extreme measures this defendant took to attempt to avoid apprehension for an extended period of time, the recent sadistic and child pornography searches, use of fictitious names, email and cell phone or burner accounts, online counter surveillance, and his access to and history of possessing firearms. The people believe that the only means to ensure the defendant's return to court is to remand the defendant without bail. Now remember, and I think they summed up that last part as a good reminder to those of us who hear all of this. The thing to remember is that bail, the purpose of bail is to make sure that they show up, that they're going to be there to appear in court. So that lays it all out. You now know everything about the records, the timing of the cell phones, his cell phone and the burner cell phone, when his wife was going out of town, when the calls made that were taunting to Ms. Barthelemy's family. This is a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how this continues to proceed. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because this is one of the cases that I am going to start doing more in-depth videos on. We're going to have more of the information out there so that we can follow it. So hit the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. Give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Peace.